and we have done so completely unannounced. And so we will be
Yeah.
saving this footage and putting it on our different channels whenever that works. But
Yeah.
good morning for me, and Patrick, good afternoon for
Good
you.
afternoon. Yeah. Just after 5 p.m. over here in beautiful Greece at the moment.
Love it. So you're in Greece then. Give us an update. How's it been going? Where you anchored in particular, if you don't mind sharing, and let us see
Yeah.
pictures. I
Yeah.
want to see.
Well, I'm gonna start from here where we are today. We're actually tied to shore today. So you see we've got two very long lines tied to shore. So this is our little private beach over here. We're about sure, let me think. What is the nearest landmark? Probably Corfu is going to be the nearest landmark. We're about 20 miles southeast of Corfu. We've got some friends on a boat next to us who invited us to this bay to spend some time together. And wife inside on the laptop doing some work. Say hi, Candace. Dog's sleeping over there as well. And beautiful day. We've just left Corfu yesterday. We spent most of our time in July in and around Corfu. Beautiful place. One of my favorite places in Greece. In fact, one of my favorite cities in general. It's a very walkable city. The whole thing is pedestrianized, and there's a very big, quite well protected bay that's got lots of space for anchoring. And because we're on a catamaran, we get to anchor in the shallows where the monohulls can't get to. So you end up having a really nice section to anchor all to yourself, which is great. So you don't need to worry about all the crowds pitching up. And we've decided to go south for a little while, just for no reason. I mean, it doesn't cost us money to move, so we just changed our scenery a bit. 2, 3 weeks in Corfu was long enough. So we're on our way to a place called Two Rock Bay, which is one of our favorites. We'll be there on Sunday, and then we'll head to Preveza to go and do some provisioning after that, and then head on further south towards Lefkada and possibly the bay that I met you in.
Oh, lovely. That was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Sounds like you
And
guys
your
have quite
plans?
the adventure ahead of you. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so in our first 2 years on the boat, we were always going somewhere. We were the first year we wanted to get to Venice for the winter, so it was a long trek north along Croatia, then turning left into Italy. And the second year was getting from Venice to Greece, so it was again a long trip. You know, we left it quite late in the season. Candace had a lot of flights in Croatia, so by the time she left on her last flight, I had to really sort of make tracks and just get to Greece. Um, and I got there sort of end of October, early November, when the sun was quite low on the horizon. This year's the complete opposite. We started the year in Preveza, and we are finishing the year in Preveza. And so all our time is just, being occupied by exploring this area. So it's nice not to be in a rush, and it's nice to be on an electric boat because the wind is either not blowing at all or blowing very strongly, so it hasn't been good for sailing. And yeah, it's been great weather. The Croatian side of things, we've been having one storm after the other, but the Ionian side of Greece has been nearly perfect weather for as long as I can remember, and it's staying perfect for as long as I can see in advance. So it's a very, very nice place to be.
Love that. I see Mason Games First says hello. Hello, Mason. Appreciate you
Wow.
on the podcast. We're up to looks like about 12 on here, so welcome everyone. Uh, I'm Jason
Our
with
first live
Thrill
comment.
Seeker. All right, and then we've also got Patrick, who is on Sailing Electra. Patrick and his wife Candace are out in the Mediterranean area, Greece, Corfu in particular. And then my wife and I, sadly, are back in Missouri, as far on the hard as you can get. And so we have wrapped up our first season and are going back to work. And so here we sit in my backyard. You can see I've got the old trailer sailor back there, just kind of. You'll see that in our channel a little later. There'll be an episode where I fix a through hole. And when I say that, I don't mean a drainage hole. I mean an actual sinking event. And so that will be me growing in my skills with fiberglass, which are currently non existent. So, um, looking forward to learning because there's just too many times that that's a needed thing. So, Patrick, let me start with you. I know we've put down a bunch of different topics, but for today, this is our first time to go live with a viewing audience and open to comments. Put your comments in the chat. We will, if we see one that we're like, oh, hey, let's address that here live on the pod, then we'll go ahead and do that. But you and I have been reaching out to some fellow sailing enthusiasts, solar sailing enthusiasts,
Yeah.
and I'm excited to announce we've got a couple, a handful actually, that are agreeing to work on doing some special guest appearances, and that's going to be super fun. I'm not going to spill the beans here because I want you to stay tuned and be on the lookout because that's going to be fun. And there's some big projects that are going on. But for today, I want to ask you, Patrick, about range anxiety. I know with
Yeah.
electric cars, and I know you did a lot with electric scooters before you jumped into
Yeah.
your
Bikes.
boat. Tell me about range anxiety from your vantage point where you've got years of experience. Is it a thing?
Yeah, so I've got a lot of experience in electric bikes and electric scooters and stuff, and range anxiety is kind of a thing with that. But I'll be happy to tell you that with an electric boat, range anxiety doesn't exist. And the reason it doesn't exist is because if you see behind me over there, I'm carrying a fuel refinery with me, and that's the best part because if I'm running low on power, I just slow down a little bit, and the sun charges my batteries faster than I'm using the power to motor, and my batteries are full again. So when I typically go and motor, um, I wait for the batteries to fill up. So I'll go on sort of medium amount of power, maybe 1,500 watts in total, while the sun is charging at 2,000 watts. And when the batteries are full, then I'll just match the sun with my speed. And because of that, my batteries are always full. And if your batteries are always full, you never really have range anxiety. So that's the way I think about it, and it seems to work really well, especially in summer. Um, my batteries are always full. They are literally always full. In fact, sometimes I'll motor faster than I need to just because I'm trying to drain the batteries a little bit. And I get to my anchorage and I slow down while I'm trying to position the anchor, and next thing the batteries are full again. So it works really, really well. Um, your screen has gone dark. I don't see you. Are you still there? We've got some people saying hi. Jason, I think your connection might have dropped. And I've got, who's that? Illig 16. I'm sure you can pronounce that a different way. Hi. Hopefully Jason will join us again. In the meantime, maybe what I'll do is show you a bit around. Back to the bay we're in. We're using shorelines. When you tie shorelines, you get really close to shore. And you can cordon off a bit of the beach and you don't swing around, which is quite nice. Heading forward on the boat. Show you the rest of the bay. Oh, there we go. Jason's coming back. Somehow. This is where we are anchored. A nice shallow little bay, open to the south, but protected everywhere else. We lost you there for a second, Jason, but
Yeah, I went ahead and came in. My apologies. That is
I'm
such
doing
amazing
an
footage.
impromptu tour of the boat. As you can see, I've got solar panels on the roof, solar panels on the other side, and then four along the back. And at the moment, they're doing nothing because my batteries are full.
Oh, that's awesome.
Very, very dusty, but it doesn't seem to affect my throughput at all. And I thought it would be a bad idea. I'll flip back to my camera. I thought it would be a bad idea to rub the dust with a cloth to get rid of it. So I'm waiting for the first rainstorm to clean the solar panels for me.
So I want to ask because I was able to hear you just fine. My apologies for my glitch out there. But one of the things that I want to address with our audience and see if they have any comments on this is dealing with doubters. And so I know that you and I have talked about this before and we've chatted about it on documents, but How do you deal with people who claim, "Oh, that's ridiculous. That's impossible. It's even dangerous. There's no way you should be doing this." Like, what are your thoughts on that, and how do you respond to those doubters or the naysayers out there?
Yeah, it was a lot harder in the first season when we hadn't really done anything, but we got a bit of experience behind us. We got what are we on now? Maybe about 3,000 miles of travel. Um, the thing is, sailboats. Okay, so I'm a sailboat. I've got a set of sails which I haven't actually used this season at all because I haven't really needed the mainsail at all. But sailboats used to run without motors for centuries, and they sort of only got motors in the late 19th century, early 20th century. So they definitely work. Um, in terms of running an electric boat, the thing is you always have power available. You know, if the sun is shining through clouds, you've got a little bit of power. If the sun is shining clearly, you've got a lot of power. And it doesn't take a lot of power to move a boat slowly. So if I want to go 2.7 knots, I run on 400 watts of power. I can do that on a completely overcast, dark day. So it's no problem at all. And I think people are assuming because they've got 20 horsepower's worth of diesels on board that you need 20 horsepower's worth of power to move a boat. And it's just not the case if you don't want to go 6 or 7 knots. You know, if you're happy to go 3, 4, 5 knots, you really need very little power to be able to move yourself. Um, I've never heard of an electric boat crashing into land because something happened with the engine, which is a big deal.
Hmm.
I've heard a lot of stories of diesels getting into rough seas and churning dirt up and getting clogged filters, like dozens of stories, many, many, many stories. So in terms of reliability, as long as you make sure you've got enough power on hand, your motor is going to get you away from danger, which is great.
Beautiful, beautiful. That is so awesome. So it seems to me like you have how many years now have you been solar
This
sailing?
is our Yeah, this is our third year now. So
Third year. So with that amount of time under your belt, you're an authority on this. Like you have lived this. What are some of the things that are threats to your system that you do encounter? Like you talked about diesel and the gumming up
yeah,
of and the getting stuff that knocks out your motors. I know with sails, you
yeah.
have ripped sails or no wind. What are some of the things that you face that are threats to your ability to motor?
So I made a mistake when I designed my boat. I've got one large battery pack, not very large. It's a 14.5 kilowatt hour battery pack. What I should have done is had two separate individual battery packs. So either two 7 or 8 kilowatt hour battery packs. Because if my 48-volt system decides to freak out, if I blow the BMS or whatever, I can bypass it, which will carry on going, but it takes me a few minutes to bypass. But if I had two battery packs and one freaks out and switches off, I can run just as efficiently on the other one because the sun powers the solar power goes straight past the battery into the motors. So I think you've got two battery packs, or you at least you're planning on two battery packs. Am I right?
Well, we have so ours is an interesting setup. We got the same type of a 14, give or take just a little bit more
Yeah,
kilowatt hour lithium iron phosphate battery using prismatic cells that
yeah,
you can get off of Amazon for very cheap. I
yeah.
think our entire battery was like $1,600, which just 5 years ago would have been way more. But we
I paid 2,500. So yeah,
oh yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry. Um, but what's fascinating is we also got a like all enclosed one battery that's a 48 volt, 135 amp battery that's put out by TCB Worth. We also got that off of Amazon, and we got that for
yeah.
like $899.
Okay,
And so I've used that on our little seeking soul seeker, I call it, the little john boat that we use for proof of concept stuff. But I have that out there on soul seeker now as a battery backup just for that same
yeah.
purpose. Now it's
Yeah.
not set up with a switch. It sounds like you would prefer to have it as a switch where you just turn a knob and now we're on that.
Not quite a switch. If you connect the two batteries in parallel, they will always balance the power between them. So if one dies, you won't even notice it. You'll have to look at your phone to check that the one is freaked out.
Interesting. I will want to talk about that more with you because I've been at a loss of how to approach adding that other battery into the system. My
Yeah.
understanding was when you initially connect them, the balancing is not in place and you can have a huge inrush of power that can cause problems.
It depends on the voltage difference between the two batteries. So if you've got them at more or less the same voltage, and LiFePO 4, when it's kind of in the middle of its voltage range, it's, every cell sits at about 3.3 volts. If they're all sort of in the middle of their voltage range and you connect them together, they'll be perfect. There'll be
Fascinating.
no
Great.
no spark or anything like that. Yeah.
Oh, see, there's the thing that I want to avoid because I am full disclosure, like I don't mind admitting I am a hobbyist with this. I'm a novice. I am not a professional electrician. I don't have a background in that. I mean, I'm in instructional technology. Like I am not, this is not my world occupationally,
Yeah.
but I've seen folks like yourself. I'm a kind of a quick learn, and so I don't mind learning as I go and learning from my mistakes. And so what I want to avoid are the catastrophes, right? And
Yeah.
so that is the biggest thing. And I would love to encourage those who are watching this podcast. You don't have to be some professional electrician to at least try this. I would recommend to you check out folks like Patrick's content. Check out some of the stuff like Indigo Lady. Check out some of the stuff that we're starting to fumble through, and you can learn from our mistakes and some of our successes.
Yeah.
And there are other folks out there who we're going to have on as special guests that you can learn from them. YouTube's made for this. And so take the advantage of that and try. Don't be afraid to try and do it in iterative steps. That would be our approach in a nutshell. We're taking iterative steps and okay with, hey, season one, rough and ugly. Season two, a little better. Keep going as you go. Now, to Patrick's point in our last one, just make sure the wife is happy. That's a good thing. She needs to be happy. And she is happy. She confirmed it and told me with no duress.
Excellent. Hot showers and lots of electricity, and most people are happy. Yeah.
Gotta love it. All right, let's do one more thing. I don't see comments coming through other than interactive type things, but I want to
Yeah.
remind those who are watching, and there is a bit of a lag between the comments as you make them and when we receive them on this particular setup within YouTube. But if we see the comments, we will definitely, if they're pertinent, shout those out and answer those. But let's talk, Patrick, if you would be so kind, to one of the things that you and I've talked about, and that is the fact that we both are using Propulsion Navy 6.0s. You're using an earlier model, but for
Yeah.
all intents and purposes, we're using the exact same twin motor setup.
Right.
And that leads me to like, I've had, about a month of experience on the water compared to your 36 months plus.
Yeah.
What would you say from your wealth of experience is something you wish, whether it be on the throttle side or on the motoring side, you know, that propulsion would change that would really improve the system or the setup or the experience as a captain using this setup?
So I'm going to flip my camera, and I'm also turning on my motors, which I do inside a little cabinet over here.
Oh, this is
One
big.
on, second one on, and then I'm going to turn the controllers on.
Love that sound. Takes me back.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So everything's caught up. It's all synchronized on that. These controllers are solar powered. Brilliant, brilliant. You almost, you don't need to plug them in. They're wireless. You can walk around the boat with them. Um, if you look at the bottom where the watts are, you see 4 zeros, and to the left of the watts, there's a little picture of the controller. I don't know if you can see it on my screen, but it's a tiny little picture of the controller.
Yeah, we can see that.
Now, now there's no um, bars on here for how much battery charge this thing has got. When the battery runs low, a tiny little minus sign appears inside this picture of a controller. Now, I mean, there's my little finger. The picture is smaller than my little fingernail. The minus sign is nearly invisible, and if you don't see it in time, you get an E64 error on the screen, and your motor's stopped.
Well, that's worthless.
And that's happened to me twice now when I wasn't expecting it. The first time I absolutely panicked completely. I
Yeah.
was in the middle of the ocean,
Oh,
probably 15 miles from land, a very
oh
expensive
no.
tow back if I needed to get. And one motor cut out completely. And then maybe about 5 or 10 minutes later, the other one cut out completely as well.
Oh, that's
And
terrifying.
I dug around. Luckily, it wasn't very windy there. I got the manual out and said, oh, okay. So the controller's battery has run low. So what you do then is you take it and you plug it into the motors where those little connectors are, and it recharges, and it's not a big deal. The problem was, again, I'm going to show you my picture. I've mounted it on a solid piece of plastic,
Yeah.
and it meant I had to do some unbolting to get to these little plugs. Now I've cut holes, as you can see, but I had to unbolt the controllers and then put them in the right place, and that got me going in. It is the worst feature.
Yeah.
Um, Anyone who runs with anything electric, you can get a percentage sign on the top of the screen, or even like 5 bars, 4 bars, 3 bars, 2 bars, 1 bar. You have no idea how much battery you've got on these controllers. You either
Yeah.
have enough or it's about to die really soon. Find some sun or plug it in.
Oh my, that is
Yeah,
huge. That is a big oversight. Propulsion, fix it. We love your
it
stuff, but fix that. I will tell you, for me, one of the
is.
ones that I wish, just from my little bit of experience, is and it doesn't make the biggest difference in the world. I'll be honest, full disclosure, the little variance between this throttle's at 600 watts and this one's at 625, that makes no
Yeah.
difference hardly at all. But
Yeah.
psychologically, for me, that drives me nuts. I want so desperately for somehow to be able to like set, or let me choose or bake it in, but like let me
Yeah.
set, hey, put both throttles. If I go here, I want them both to be at 1500 watts, or I want them
Yeah.
both to be at 1000 watts. Like, give me incremental steps somehow that they
I
both
would love
match.
it.
God, I would love that. Wouldn't that
Yeah.
be
I'm
great?
totally on board with that. Like my most common power setting is in summer it's about 1.1 kilowatts each side, but usually for not peak summer I use 1 kilowatt on each motor. But it's not always 1 kilowatt on each motor. Sometimes it's 1 kilowatt and 970. It seems to love 970. And I know it's not a big difference, and I know that extra 30 watts isn't going to be noticeable, but it does.
Yeah.
It drives me a little bit crazy.
Oh, I'm just OCD enough that just
Yeah.
infuriates me. I want it to not do that. I want to have control over that. Call me controlling. I'll admit it. It's fine. It's my thing.
Yeah.
Now, I will say the system as a whole, though, man, it
Yeah.
is awesome. It's so plug and play. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like, as one who's not, as full disclosure, I'm not a professional at this stuff. I was able to just plug this in. Like, I don't want to oversell that. I'm not an idiot, but I could plug this in and feel like, okay, with appropriate, common level safeguards and knowledge of when to plug this in and when not, and in what order or
Yeah.
sequence, I'm able to go, okay, let me do that. Hey, it worked. And it
Yeah.
just works.
Well, we've both taken diesel motors out of our boats, and you remember all the wires in that came with your diesel motor.
Good Lord.
I I wouldn't be able to put a diesel in my boat on my own. There's
There's
no
no
way
way.
I could figure out those wiring harnesses and make things work in that. There's no chance. And if something went wrong with diesel, there's no way I'm going to be able to troubleshoot something like that. I'm going to
Yeah.
have to call in the mechanic. But electric is so simple. You got a red wire and you got a black wire, and that goes to the plus and it goes to the minus. And then you turn the switch and things switch on,
They turn
and
on.
you're ready to go.
And you're just good. And there's
Yeah,
no noise, and there's no fumes, and there's no.
yeah,
I've been getting updates about, and it was so tragic, but there was recently here, a child who died, unfortunately, because of carbon monoxide poisoning while on a boat. And I'm like, oh my God, that's just so sad and tragic to
I've
me.
also watched. Yeah. Okay, you're back.
Oh, did I dip out again? So I was just sharing about how there's no fumes to worry
Yeah.
about, and it's so tragic. There was a little child actually recently, and it's so terrible, but lost their life because of carbon monoxide poisoning incurred while on a boat. Like, you're on a boat, it should be a wonderful experience. You shouldn't have to
Uh,
face things that could kill you like that. I mean, there's enough that you have to worry about with staying afloat and staying safe in your
yeah.
boating to not have to worry about fumes. And then how many others where a boat ignites because of some terrible thing going on. And
Yeah.
so I love this setup. It's so clean, it's so easy, it's so straightforward. I love that
Yeah.
if the solar, if something goes wrong, I love that I can go, okay, I've got these two are running to that charge controller, and that charge controller has funny looking lights. That's the one that I need to look at. And just make sure if you're doing this that you put in enough of the safeguards, like you need to have circuit breakers, you need to have, and they need to be appropriately sized. You need to have fuses,
Yeah.
and they need to be appropriately sized so that if you get a surge, it's not catastrophic. Yes, it's going to
Yeah.
be a pain. Yes, it's going to be scary until you can drop anchor or you can get to safe harbor and then sort it out and deal with it. But it's not the end of the world versus if you're going to makeshift or you're going to hobbyist style, then what's very likely to happen is that you're going to face that moment that would, instead of breaking a breaker or blowing a fuse, it's going to be a bigger issue. You could even have a fire, and that's not because solar electrics are somehow prone to fires. The batteries way back, 5-10 years ago, yeah, those were different, and they were more prone to thermal runaway. These that you're working with now, I mean, they're pretty safe. They're pretty straightforward. Can something go wrong? Always. It's always a chance, but it's way overblown, the concept that, oh, that's a fire risk. You got to be
Yeah.
smart, you got to be safe, but really it's pretty plug and play, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think statistically, lead acid batteries have caused more fires than lithium iron phosphate batteries. Um, but I do know somebody who put a Tesla battery in his boat, and that's not lithium iron phosphate; that's lithium ion. And it's just unfortunate that the whole lithium brand gets stuck as one type of battery because lithium polymer is what RC planes work on, and if you sneeze on them, they explode. And lithium ion is the next level down. That's electric cars, and they can get into thermal runaway if you have an accident or you break one or something like that, and that's a big problem. But lithium iron phosphate is about as safe as can be in terms of battery power. I don't know if
Fantastic.
you watch. Do you ever watch Will Pros?
No,
On he's brilliant. Yeah,
I need to check.
he's the guru of all things solar and lithium iron phosphate, and he's also got a website, DIY Solar Power, huge channel.
Oh,
Um,
I need to
but
go check.
one of his recent videos was him trying to ignite a lithium iron phosphate battery, basically one of our prismatic
Oh,
cells
wow.
in that, and it's impossible to do. You stick it underwater, you
Okay, wait,
shoot
wait,
it with
wait,
a
wait,
gun, you
wait.
can.
You zip past that. You remember, I'm amateur brain, you're professional brain. uh so
Yeah,
this guy William Prost,
Will Pros, yeah,
Will Pros. Okay, so
he's
has
huge
taken
channel.
lithium iron phosphate battery. When you say it slower, I think I am aware that he's a big YouTube guy.
Yeah.
But what he's done is taken a lithium iron phosphate battery and attempted to compromise it such that it would ignite.
Yeah, he's tried his best to make them burn. And on
I
the
got
DIY electric bike forum, I've also had a guy who's taken a lithium iron phosphate with a hacksaw and cut it in half while it was fully charged. And somebody else charged one instead of to 3.6, which is normally the maximum. He's charged it to 13, 14, 15 volts to try and
oh
get it to explode. And you can't do it. You can make it go a little bit puffy, you can make the outer casing burst open, but there's no way for it to catch fire. Yeah.
wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. And what's fascinating is you said you paid like 2,500. Is that what I heard?
I did 2,500. Yeah.
And so we've paid 1,400, and so now I can't even imagine. I haven't priced them recently, but the way the prices are coming down. Now I don't know
Yeah.
with the tariff crazy that's going on right now how imports might work here, there, or everywhere, depending on where you are around the world. But as far as the actual price, they just keep coming down in price, and it's just at this point I would say
Yeah.
pricing is no longer a real obstacle unless you're just
Uh,
being unrealistic and you're not at a spot to even be thinking about this. Like you do need to have some financial situation in place to do this. But it
yeah.
doesn't have to be like most people say boating, bring out another thousand, boat, bring out another thousand. And that's not wrong, but most of that is when
Yeah.
you're not building it yourself, when you're not doing it yourself. If you're having
Yeah.
someone else do it, yeah, they're going to charge you like crazy. And honestly, they're worth their wages. Like when we had our mast removed, oh man. And that was in our episode 1 that just released here yesterday, today before. And,
Yeah.
those guys, they wanted, pretty penny, but worth it because I don't have a crane. I don't have the ability to go up
Yeah.
there and crawl up the mast and do what he did and the speed that he did it with.
Yeah.
So money well spent in my book. And then I don't have a mast to worry about. So as we move forward with our project, wow, like we want to be a solar boat, not a hybrid.
Mm.
There's nothing against the hybrid style. It's great. But
Yep.
our project, we want to be a solar electric boat that navigates the Great Loop. And so that's what we're going to do. And that comes with
Yep.
inherent upside and downside. Like when it's just stormy and rainy, like it's been all summer out here in the US, that's going to present a solar problem for me. I need to know how to
Yeah.
handle that. But what's brilliant is all I need is actually a few hours of sun if I'm going at slower speeds to top off what I need. And then I can use my battery for a number of hours at that speed and be okay. And
Yeah.
here's what I say. Let's wrap up with is this beautiful little point here. And it was a lesson
Yeah.
we learned, Patrick. And you're going to laugh because I'm sure you learned this years ago. Our overnight energy consumption. So when we would pull in either to a marina or a dock, or if we were on the hook, which means at anchor, um, when we would go to sleep, I would check what the battery percentage was at. And then when we wake up the next day, excuse me, I'm like, okay, what's the battery at? Did we use everything? Are we at next to zero? And no, we would use between 10, 12, maybe sometimes 15%. I'm talking watching YouTube
Yeah.
all night long and, Wi-Fi
Cooking and
screaming and cooking and
yeah.
refrigerating and all the stuff. And
Yeah.
so pumping water, everything. And so with that 10, maybe 15 at the most percentage dip. And then before noon on an even partly sunny day, that's all back and we're good and we're going. What has been your experience there?
Yeah. I suspect when you say before noon, it means it's on a day that you're also motoring as well.
Correct.
Because if you're not motoring, if you're on anchor, sort of I wake up, we take the dogs to the beach at about 8 o'clock. By 9 o'clock, my batteries are full, and I'm switching on the water heater to go and suck up a bit more power. Um, and then if I want to go motoring, I start with full battery bank at 10 o'clock or so in the morning. Get to my destination, even if I've decided to burn power, by the time my anchor is down, it's full again. It's
Love it.
quite something, yeah. Now, last year I did sail until mid-November, and it wasn't the same then. Um, when I was sailing mid-November and I was moving every single day because I had a destination to reach, I was going quite slowly until about lunchtime, uh,
Mm,
waiting for the battery to top up again, and then I'd only speed up. So then my average speed wasn't 4 to 5 knots; it was 3 to 4 knots.
And that's because the sun is just lower in the horizon. You're getting a more
Yeah,
indirect path of the photons to your panels.
yeah. I also had some shade on my solar panels from 230. I had shade on my solar panels from a guardrail, and I've made a lower guardrail this year. So that's one
Oh,
of
I
the
love
things I've
that. You
done.
brought that out in a video too. I was like, that's brilliant. And then I
Yeah.
saw your fiberglass work and went, he needs to teach me more.
I'll send you a couple of links to channels that do fiberglass well. Mine is functional, but not pretty. Yeah.
I love it. And we'll be sure to share that out on this the chat for this as well, or in the description. Let's wrap up, Patrick, with a little teaser of what's to come. So we have a number of special guests who we have lined up that are interested in sharing their own solar electric conversion stories. And I'm
Yep.
super pumped because they're so different. Each one of them is
Very definitely.
remarkably different. I know there's one that has a mass, like you might as well call it Noah's Ark. It's huge. This boat is massive. I'm like, oh my goodness gracious, are you a floating hotel? Like that's so big.
Yeah.
And of course, my wife is like, no, we need that space. That is amazing, you know. And I'm like, oh, good lord. But I'm so pumped to announce that we are going to have some special guests. You don't want to miss these. We're going to work out the tech where we can have three tiles going on, or I can bounce between Patrick and the special guest, or just individuals. Like it's going to be a lot of tech on my end to navigate, and hopefully we'll get some comments thrown in there. Folks,
Yep.
I really appreciate you guys watching the podcast. We want to grow this a little bit and see how we can provide a service, but also how we can be a reference point for others who are considering projects like this. Patrick, I give you the final word, and don't forget the thanks for watching. It's my favorite part.
No, I'm looking forward to the guests as well. Very interesting people. I think this hobby sort of does attract sort of really unique people. We've got a couple of gurus as well. There's one guy who's, I won't give it away. There's some guys that have built some really cool things, not just the boat, but also the bits and pieces on the boat. So that'll be fun.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. And I see, I can't pronounce your first name. I apologize, but Hanson says use the
Yeah.
dual control. Maybe. Yep, definitely going to need to do that. We're working
So
toward.
the dual control is talking about is you get the one controller that's got two levers, which they're always set identically. I didn't know about the app for the remote. I'm gonna
Oh,
have to find some more on this. If you can post a link in the chat, I would really appreciate that
that would be
because
awesome. Are you kidding
I
me?
know the motors are Bluetooth. That would be very, very cool. Yeah, we're gonna look into that. Anyway, I think we're gonna cut it here.
Yep, very good.
Thanks
And
for
here we go.
watching.
No, I spoke through it. We got to do it again.
All right. Thanks for watching.